Why are managers relevant in today's leader-focused world? New managers realize that managing their team is different from what they thought it would be. The Authentic Leader Show is the podcast for leaders of managers as they transform their new managers into leaders of teams. Leadership gets all of the attention. I mean, doesn't everybody want to be a leader? Sometimes the term manager can unfairly be vilified as being bossy. Boss and manager, they are not the same thing, but many managers can be bossy because their career examples from their boss was bossy. Now, I'll be the first person to say that managers, they should lead their teams. The questions are, can all managers be leaders? And can leaders also be managers? Well, I'll give you the quick answer to both, and the answer is yes. The important thing is to know the difference between leadership and management, and many people don't make time to think about those differences. Leaders set the direction and they inspire their team to high performance. Managers, they execute the team's direction to ensure that tasks are completed effectively and efficiently. I love this simple way of thinking about leadership and management. Leadership is a verb. Leadership describes how someone influences and inspires their team. Now, management is a noun. Management describes how someone's position is someone who is responsible for getting results by doing things in a predefined way. I find that both of these are truly complementary skills to each other. While manager and leader are often used interchangeably, they are not the same thing. All managers, they need to know the difference. Leadership and management are complementary skills, and they work together to create the results and reach the organization's goals. Now, let's get even clearer about the difference between leaders and managers. Leaders work with their teams to define the direction of the team and then to inspire the team to focus their efforts on several things. The first focus is on prioritizing and achieving goals. They work with their team to identify for themselves what their goals are and then how to effectively prioritize them so that at any given point of the day that they have confidence that the work that they're working on is the most appropriate thing. They also work with their teams to help them to make independent and confident decisions. Now, independence with making decisions is different really for every person on the team on a variety of factors, including skills and experience. But it's up to the leader to really give the experience to their team members and to help them to make more effective decisions and confident decisions, and even providing them the tools and experience so that they can make more confident decisions. Leaders also are focused on assigning work in a fair and strategic way. When we talk about assigning work, many times that comes in the form of delegation. And I find it very important for leaders to have a strategy for why they are selecting someone to do any kind of work on the team. Then that strategy can be in a variety of ways. But when doing it consistently with a consistent strategy, ultimately does create fairness across the team. Those managers also are focused on building strong relationships with each member of the team. When you have strong relationships with the team members on the team, the manager ultimately they increase engagement of the team because they have those working relationships. Performance improves, it increases because of that engagement, and also trust. Trust is critically important for the success of a team, and that's what leaders do through creating relationships will increase that trust. What managers do, they ensure that the necessary resources, the systems, and the processes that they're all established. They also ensure that the team is working effectively so that the team can successfully achieve whatever the team direction is. What managers do, they remain focused on creating and instilling processes. So if processes don't already exist, they are tasked with making sure that those processes They actually are created. And then once those processes are created, that they instill those processes, make sure that they are consistently followed. Once those processes are in place, managers also can create monitoring systems so that they can increase efficiencies, looking at how effectively are we executing the process that has been defined. Let's monitor that and look for where are some opportunities where we can be even more effective than we already are in the processes that we are following. Managers also they remain focused on doing things the right way, right? The consistency of always doing it the right way will also create greater confidence in the consistency of the results that team members and even the overall team will produce. They're also focused on balancing workload, making sure that no one person or group of people have an unfair burden in the amount of work that's being done. Now, there are certainly seasons where some team members may have a fuller plate than other team members, but over time, they should be balancing that workload amongst the rest of the team. Managers also remain focused on holding team members accountable to their commitments. When they are given an assignment or a task or a role, managers' responsibilities are to make sure that they are following through on the commitments that they've made in their role and the tasks that they're doing. Managers also remain focused on ensuring that timelines are met. Timelines so that, again, we can increase the predictability of the results that are being created. But when those timelines, make sure that they are actually met and that they can create a reputation for team members, the team themselves, that when timelines are established, those timelines are consistently met. They remain focused on establishing and maintaining budgets, right? Whatever the budget is, whether they have full authority of the budget or they are responsible for a portion of spending in the budget, making sure that they remain inside the constraints of the budget, don't overspend, but also what they are spending, they're being good stewards with the money that they are entrusted to them as the manager of the team. Managers also remain focused on addressing problems and resolving conflicts. Anytime you're working with the team and you're working with people, from time to time, there will be conflicts. And managers are responsible for identifying when those conflicts and problems occur, but then making sure that they are fully addressed and we resolve those conflicts. And the last one that I'll share here is that managers are focused on using their authority to direct and coordinate others. Being a manager and in their role, they have formally been given authority. Managers will appropriately use that authority when they are directing the team and coordinating the work of others. The most successful managers and leaders, they really understand that they occupy two distinct roles, and we've been talking about them. And really, both of those roles are necessary for organizational and team success. The real key here is knowing when to be a manager and when to be a leader. Now, I'll say this up front is that I find leadership is a luxury, and it's usually a luxury of time. When managers have time, they should be leading their team. And now, Chris, what do you mean by leading their team? What it means is to take time to lead the team to their own decisions. And we're talking about decisions in determining their goals and their priorities and the work that they do, really how, when, and where work is being done, and even accepting work. Now, management is also a luxury, but it's a different kind of luxury. Managers have a formal authority because of their assigned role, as I mentioned earlier. The luxury is that managers have authority to make decisions on their own and then just to announce the decision that they have made. Where the luxury comes in is that when the team doesn't have time to be led through a decision and making a decision on their own, managers they simply can make the decision. I know what busy managers will say, and I would say all managers that I work with, they're all busy, right? I know what they will say, and they will say something like, I am so busy that I will never have this luxury of time to lead the team. I'm not talking about using free time. All managers, they all have more to do than can actually be done. What I'm really talking about here is that when time to make decisions isn't urgent, you should recognize that. And it can be easy to justify saying in a manager role because it seems easy to just use authority to get work done. And that can be done in the short term. But too much authority of just making decisions, it ends up being bossy over time when you're only directing people through your decisions. It's kind of like adding seasoning to a recipe. Too little seasoning and you really can't taste the seasoning at all. However, too much seasoning and it overpowers the recipe. It's really a balance of not too little, but also not too much. When the team is part of the decision making process, the team is simply more likely to get behind the decision and make it happen. Managers can shift to a leadership role when they have a management decision by empathetically explaining why they made a decision and then ask the team for help in accomplishing it, right? Because sometimes that will happen where a manager just simply needs to make a decision. When the team is not part of the decision making process, especially over time, and they are rarely having any input in a decision making process, then they're just simply told what to do all the time. The team can push against the decision and either consciously or even subconsciously sabotage the decision. And you don't want that. The very best managers are also leaders, and the best leaders, they're also managers. For the team to perform at their highest level and for the organization to be successful, managers need to be skilled at appropriately shifting between manager and leader roles, and even in some cases, blending the two appropriately. And that is really a skill that you get through experience. Why are managers relevant in today's leader focused world? I hope I answered that because we talked about 6 different things here. The first one is, of course, don't be bossy. Don't be that manager who has a reputation for bossing people around. Also, know the difference between leadership and management. And anytime you are acting in your role, know, am I acting in a leadership capacity or a management capacity? Number 3 listed here is leadership and management are complementary skills. They complement each other. And number 4 is making sure that you are switching the hats and understanding the different luxuries that both management and leadership provide. And then also understanding what busy managers will say. Don't fall into the trap of explaining that you're too busy, and also understanding what the best managers and leaders do. The best managers are leaders, and the best leaders are good managers. Leadership is simple, but it's not easy. Managers' jobs are to navigate really very complex situations and decide how to appropriately respond. The appropriate response is a skill that can be developed through training and coaching that's also coupled with experience. I'm hired to work with new managers to develop their skills and to help them to transform into leaders of teams. If you'd like to see if your new manager qualifies for the New Managers Academy, you can learn more at AuthenticSuccessOnline.com. Our February program was a great success, and you don't want your new manager to miss out on this program. If you can relate to anything that I shared today, or if you'd like to ask me questions, I would love to talk with you. Put a comment right here and I'll respond. You can also DM me or reach out to me through my LinkedIn profile. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn at I am Christopher Jones. You can also find more information and other free resources when you go to ChristopherRJones.com. Thank you for joining us today. Please come back next week for another episode.